Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism. So let me put this one to you. Have any of you ever been in a narcissistic relationship where they blamed you for the inconvenience that was caused by your illness? Listen on, because we're going to take that on today. This is a tough one because if you're thinking like, say what? Yeah, they'll blame you for the inconvenience you caused by getting sick. Thank you to the person who wrote in with this question because it really echoed something I've witnessed in multiple cases of narcissistic abuse, especially in longer term relationships. So I think it's an important one to take on, or it's a cautionary tale. So imagine the narcissistic person was inconvenienced by your cancer or some other long-term illness or your pregnancy or your back surgery. And they have no problem telling you. The communication geniuses that they are, right? So they may say something to you like, hey, I just want you to know all that chemotherapy stuff you did and you losing your hair and having to drive you and sit in the hospital, having to deal with you. It was really inconvenient for me and darn insurance paperwork. Or they may something like, just so you are aware, it was really hard for me after your surgery. It totally threw off my schedule. And they say this with a straight face. How dare you inconvenience them with your hospitalization and your illness? I have actually seen it happen to people in my life in real time. And I remember feeling sick when I saw it happen. Not because I was surprised. The narcissists are going to invalidate. It's what they do. But because I knew how much it hurt the person who was sick and actually still held hope and believed that maybe their illness would be the wake-up call for the toxic person in their life. So you might be thinking, what the hell is this about? This almost feels sadistic. Well, just as a reminder, the only reality and experience in the world for them is theirs. So when something as real as your illness comes up, it is really experienced as an affront. How dare there be an experience that's not mine, and on top of that, one that's actually inconveniencing me. So when you are sick and other people are checking in to send you well wishes or maybe help or send some food or be supportive or just be kind, none of those calls are for the narcissistic person, are they? And even when those people call to talk with the narcissistic person, they may say things like, oh my goodness, your wife is so brave. Well, that's not going to work for the narcissistic person who views themselves almost delusionally as the only one who can be brave and good. Your illness may also be a grim reminder of their own mortality, or it may actually throw off their schedule. That's what happens. When you love or care, supposed to love or care someone who's sick, it does throw off your schedule. Plans may need to be canceled or rescheduled. Things may not happen as you thought. Your energy may wane, and because you are preoccupied, you may not be as good a source of supply. Basically, the rhythms of life change, and it's not because of them. And it may even be worse, that while you are ill, they may even accuse you of making it too big a deal. So they'll say, oh, please, it's just stage 3 cancer. At least it's not stage 4. Yeah. Or they'll say something like, oh, people have babies all the time. Or, is it really that bad? Do we really need to drive all the way to the emergency room right now? I'm finishing the game here. While you are in the midst of the illness, many times, obviously, you're so absorbed with it, especially if it is more acute, that you almost can't entertain the thought that they do not care. It's painful to think that someone may not care when you're in the most vulnerable spot of your life. And on top of that, you are just needing to survive. So maybe you actually do need their ride to the hospital or for them to help you up the stairs or whatever it may be. At those times, there may be cognitive dissonance for you, justification, and as I said, preoccupation with your own situation. So you just can't go there to a radical acceptance space of, wow, I actually think they're aggravated because I am sick. If all goes well, you come out of the medical crisis. In some cases, perhaps you'll be changed for your lifetime. Maybe you'll have issues with mobility or need ongoing therapies, or there's risks of relapse. But you do get better. You aren't so fragile. And that's usually when the narcissistic person will tell you something this insensitive. And no, you don't get to give them points for waiting until you weren't dying to give you this feedback and tell you that your illness inconvenienced them. What it means is that you actually did read the situation correctly in the first place. They really were annoyed when you were sick, as upsetting as that might seem. And now, in the aftermath of your illness, to hear them share with you that they were actually inconvenienced can also be unsettling. It's also possible that they will minimize it and say things like, well, it couldn't have been that bad, you're better, aren't you? And yet, having to have experienced a life-changing illness and have it be glossed over. Again, so invalidating, so unempathic. For those of you who have endured an accident that required care afterwards, a difficult pregnancy, or frankly, any pregnancy or an illness, and to be viewed as an inconvenience, at a minimum, let this terrible experience be a wake-up call. So you've already been through this whole illness or this mess, right? But it's a grim reminder that if you do become ill again, your health struggles again, or you have a recurrence, that it will be, again, that you're going to hear that you're inconvenient again. So that means now, while you're well, make sure you get your plan Bs in place and stop waiting for the wondrous moment that the narcissist is going to roll up and help you. Illness is the ultimate test of a narcissistic relationship, and invariably they fail. Many people are devastated when they recognize that all the justifying and wishing it was different and the wishful thinking, it all becomes devastating when you become sick. And the willingness to just say that they were actually able to say out loud that they were inconvenienced by your illness speaks to the fact that relationships for narcissistic folks are really merely transactional and functional. The test of a relationship is not the love bombing or the charm or the charisma. It's really the test of any relationship, is whether they're willing to hold your hand when you're sick. And they view it as a privilege to be able to sit there and get you through it. That's a healthy relationship. Always remember that that's the measure of love. And even if your illness may have at times been called an inconvenience, as difficult things in life are, when you're sick, or at any time, you're the last person in the world who should ever have had to hear that. And all of us deserve better. Thanks again.